Let's turn now to Congressman Adam Smith of Washington State. He's joining me now. He is the top Democrat on the House Armed Services Committee. Congressman, thank you for your time. I just want to get your reaction. And first off, we did hear from two of your colleagues in the House on the arrest of Evan Gershkovich. Let me first play that for you because they're referring to this as a kidnapping or hostage taking. Listen. Do we have that sound?
This is very typical Russia behavior, and that is to grab Americans, use them as leverage. In this case, a reporter make spurious allegations against them and detain them, potentially for long periods of time.
We are in very dangerous territory with him. This is all about leverage, and so now we have a human life in the balance.
Do you agree with that characterization, hostage-taking, kidnapping?
Yes, absolutely. I don't think there's any question that Russia is using this for leverage. Look, Russia has become increasingly aggressive and increasingly lawless in the way that they interact on a wide range of issues, pulling out of treaties, obviously the invasion of Ukraine, the way they're conducting that war. I don't think there's any doubt that they did this as a kidnapping for leverage against the U.S., and it really ramps up the tensions between our two countries in a dangerous way. I don't think there's any doubt about that.
It's going to be a tricky situation for the Biden administration. How do you hope that this will be approached, especially knowing that the Justice Department just last week on Friday announced charges against, an alleged Russian spy named Sergei Vladimirovich Cherkaskov, accused him of spying, and it seems like he would be quite a high-value spy for Russia, considering he was allegedly, gathering information about American officials' thoughts on policy on the Russian invasion.
Yeah, well, there's a key point here. That individual is, in fact, a spy. We have actually produced the evidence of that. He created an entirely fake identity while he was living in Brazil. If the reports I've read are correct, over the course of a 10-year period, he pretended to be somebody else. He is not the person he was claiming to be when he enrolled at Georgetown University and started spying against the U.S. We have 100% proof that he is a Russian who is impersonating a Brazilian in order to spy on the U.S. The Russians do not have that evidence because the Wall Street Journal reporter is just that, a reporter. He's not a spy. So, yes, no, I think we should draw that clear distinction and, again, recognize the lawlessness of how Russia is approaching this and jeopardizing American lives. And you're right, it is a very tricky situation for the Biden administration to try to negotiate their way through this. But we must be clear on the difference here.
I do want to ask you, Congressman, about this back and forth between Russia and the U.S. over sharing information about nuclear weapons. The Kremlin is saying this morning that it'll give the U.S. advance notice about missile tests. That's after saying just yesterday that it would stop all notifications about their nukes and after suspending its participation in the New START nuclear arms treaty. Where do you see things standing right now on what really is a critical security issue?
Well, it's a very troubling situation. At the height of the Cold War, we negotiated the nuclear test ban treaty back during the Kennedy administration. We consistently negotiated, even with all of the tension between the Soviet Union and the U.S. and the West, we understood that having a transparent, open dialogue about the most dangerous weapons the world has ever faced was crucial to everybody, and we maintained that dialogue. Russia's cutting that off now. And by the way, so is China. China is massively increasing the size of their nuclear arsenal. We have reached out to them to have a conversation about arms control and transparency, and they have refused those conversations. We need to work hard to make sure that we have these types of discussions with Russia and China. We are the three largest nuclear powers in the world by a comfortable margin. A lack of clarity on intentions and a lack of clarity on what we have is dangerous. And like I said, we have a precedent for handling this in a more responsible way. Russia has a precedent for handling this in a more responsible way. We need to keep working hard to reestablish that.
Before we go, Congressman, I do want to ask you about this tragic news of the two helicopters in Kentucky with the 101st Airborne colliding. We have 9 U.S. service members who have been killed in that. I just want to give you a chance to respond.
Yeah, our heart goes out to the family members and everyone at Fort Campbell and who knew these brave young men and women. It is a huge tragedy to have this happen. And for our part, on the Armed Services Committee, we always need to take a careful look and do oversight on the training. We need to find out why this happened, how this happened, and what we can do in terms of training, maintenance, whatever the answer is, what can we do to create a safer environment for our men and women to train in the services. It's an inherently dangerous thing to do, but we need to work to make sure that it is still safe even as they're doing that. And clearly, there's a lot to be learned about what happened in this accident, and a lot we can do to make the situation safer. So I'm going to get specific information on that and figure out what we can do.
Yeah, it just goes to show, again, a reminder that, our U.S. military members really do sacrifice, risk their lives every day doing what they do. Congressman Adam Smith, appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you.